Hi everybody. This is going to be fun. Tommy's been telling the bear story since I've known him, so I've heard it many times. And right now, and this is for our descendants and family members and whatnot, so I can be pretty candid. His dentures are loose and he can't tell it. We've tried. So he's going to stand next to me and coach if he needs to, but I'm going to tell the bear story. I do know it by heart, really. But before I do, again, this is for posterity. I'm going to give you a little background of the Scott family. In another video later, I'm going to do my family, but this is all Scott's right now. All right, his name is Thomas Nathaniel Scott. His father was John Harold Scott. His mother, Sarah Elizabeth Kirkendall Scott. And I'm going to tell you about the Kirkendalls right now. They came to Texas in the early 1800s. His great-great-great-grandfather was one of the first Texas Rangers. They were also members of Austin's 300. You kids in history class will have heard about that. At any rate, they were the founders of Texas. And Tommy is a 6th generation Texan. So his grandchildren are 8th generation Texan. That's something to be proud of. So, now to get on with the bear story. When he was about 18 years old, he was going to college at the College of Sequoia in California and studying nuclear physics. He's a smart guy. Anyway, he had to quit college to help support his younger brothers and sister. So he went to work for the U.S. Forest Service in the Sequoia National Forest. There was 3 in the campsite, and their job, starting out, was to plant trees in the burned out areas. Then, that was in the spring. And then come summer, they kept them on to start building roads. Not roads, actually, hiking trails and horseback trails from King Canyon National Park all the way to the Muir National Park, which was across the backbone of the High Sierras. They established chores in their campsite. There was cooking and cleaning and whatnot. So, and they take turns. So this particular morning it was his turn to be off. And he headed up the trail towards where they left their tools from the day before. As he was walking along, he looked and happened to see a baby bear cub. And it was the first one he'd ever seen in the wild. It just captivated him so he started following it. Didn't realize how close he had gotten until he saw Mama Bear come out and swat the baby bear up a tree. And then turn around and open her mouth and let out a loud noise. And Tommy knew then the race was on. Where they were was close to the top of the mountain, so running, it was straight down. He started right, as soon as she turned around, he realized the race was on. So he started downhill, and he could hear her right behind him every step of the way. He'd hit what they called a manzanita bush. It crackles and makes noise. And as soon as he hit it and put the other foot down, she hit it. I mean, right behind him, the whole time. He came to a big, high, what do you call them? Sequoia tree, the big redwoods. And it was 8 foot high. He knew he had to keep running. And he had no idea how far the drop was, all of that. But he got up on top of it and kept on running and running. Finally saw the road, and he didn't hear her behind him, so he decided to put on the brakes. Dug his heels in, went down the slope, over the road, kept on going down. And he realized, he turned around and looked, and she had stopped at the big tree. So he started back up towards the road, and here come his buddies, and they thought the bear had already got him because he was pumping blood out of his nose. He was a running track. He was in really good shape, but he burst the blood vessel, so his chest was covered in blood, and they just knew that she had just tore him up. What he had in his mind the whole time is he had to get to those tools because he had nothing to defend himself with her, and that's where he was going, was to get to the tools. He had an axe in there and other things. So anyway, the threat was over. So they decided to go back up and see where she dropped off and check, you know, the footsteps. They measured them. Between the footsteps, it was 25 feet. When he jumped the log, it was, I forget, 175?
Yeah.
When he jumped off the log, he was flying because his next footstep was 175 feet down. Crazy. Anyway, that's the story of being chased by a bear and living to tell about it. Now I want to show you where he was working, or not where he was working, but the trees that grow where he was working. This is the General Grant Sequoia. And I forget how many thousand feet it is tall.
No, it's about 280 feet.
Oh, okay. And how much around?
It's about 105 feet around. It's 35 feet in diameter. It was at that time the oldest thing alive that we knew about. It was 2,800 years old. They've since found bristlecone pine that's 8,000 years old.
That's in Australia, right?
No, it's here.
It's here?
It's in,
Oh,
in
okay.
the Sierras.
Oh,
okay. The sequoias, the giant sequoias start at 6,500 feet and go up, and we were headquartered in Pinehurst, California. It's about 7,000 feet. They tried to log the redwoods in the early 1900s, but the sequoia redwoods do not have tensile strength. In other words, they won't hold up like a 2x4 wheel or something. They cut a lot of the redwoods down, and 35 feet diameter. They had square dances on them and on the stump of the trees, and there's a lot of them still down there. All they do now is use them for signposts.
let me show this picture. This is our youngest son, Nathan, between two of the sequoia trees. We took this when we were on our way to California to see our eldest son graduate from Stanford. Uncle Jordy. The end.